Okay, I guess we're starting.
All right, then.
So this is Pokemon Mr. Engine Blue Rescue Team. Came out in 2005 on the DS, and has recently been re-released for the Wii U Virtual Console, which is a significant time save, just because it doesn't accurately emulate DS games. It runs them a little bit faster.
And this is the save and quit route, which is essentially, it uses RNG manipulation by quick saving on the first floor of certain dungeons, just so we can always know what specific movement we need to do, which makes dungeons significantly faster because it takes out the randomness of most of the floors. And we're starting off with Machop and Torchic, which is mainly because of their defense, I guess. Usually when I run this game, I use Meowth and Charmander, just because I like Meowth's pickup ability. It works well for some floors.
Okay, so I don't think we've introduced ourselves yet.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm Huma's DS. And the other person here with me is Valkyrie.
We're running this game. Whom is this actually is the current world record holder in the English version.
Actually, he had a really good first 3 Tiny Woods floors. I usually don't get that good of luck.
Tiny Woods is probably the dungeon where luck matters the most, because it's the only dungeon we don't manipulate, because the manipulation floors for this dungeon are awful.
And it's also only 3 floors, so it's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
So rip the top screen.
So I believe Machop is used because for a while Machop was believed to level up the slowest, and Torchic is used because Torchic has the least amount of dialogue.
So also story-wise, right now, we just woke up, discovered that we were Pokemon for some reason, and then we met this random Torchic, and we're about to just form a rescue team, because why not?
And now we got nothing better to do in this world we don't know. Well, Terrane, he's playing on the Japanese version, which offers several minutes of time save due to text differences. 205 is actually a really pretty generous estimate, since the world record in Japanese is 150. Yeah, the speedrun.com leaderboards at the current moment only features English runs.
Hopefully soon it will both have English and JP, but yeah, for the time being it's just English. Also, story-wise right now, we just came out of the house and the Torchic is still there, and we're about to get a letter. And that letter is going to have a rescue request. Then we get to go to the second dungeon of the game.
Yeah, this will probably be the first game in the marathon that's sub 2 hours. Or the first game in a while, because they've been doing a lot of 3, 4, 5 hour games.
Okay, so this is Thunderwave Cave, and this will be the first point of save and quit manipulation.
You picked up a cherry berry and Mickey for later. Okay, so what the quick saving does is basically when you quick save, the game does not save any previous data of the floors ahead of the one, except for the one you're only on. So floors 2, 3, 4, and 5 of this dungeon, the data for it was lost. So when it reloads the game, it has nothing to load back to. So it loads back to a certain, kind of a default seed that was created based on saving on the first floor.
So now he's going through specific movements in order to get to the stairs without encountering too many Pokemon. We do encounter some because it is nice to have a little bit of levels just so there's no deaths in the run.
Yeah, the top screen rather, which is the screen off to the left, doesn't feature too much information. Most of the game is almost entirely played on the bottom screen. Actually, this game is entirely played on the bottom screen. Top screen is just for information on how your HP and stuff. It isn't until the next game in the series that they actually utilize both screens for gameplay.
Yeah, and likely the reason for that is because the original release, Red Rescue Team, was on the Game Boy Advanced. So when they ported it to DS, they didn't really have a reason to use the second screen too much, so they just kind of used the map.
Okay, so he reset there right after saving. So I guess this is the point he chooses to do Wonder Mail.
Yeah, in the English version, usually we do it when, like, right after we do a quick save and go to the menu. But in Japan, they actually do it right when they're at the bed, and they just reset the game from there, then go to this Wonder Mail menu. And this Wonder Mail menu gives you certain missions that can give you certain items, which are very helpful. And they can also give you faster missions than what you would randomly get. So for example, we're about to head over to Pokemon Square, I guess, and we're going to be heading over to a bulletin board to get some missions, but if we generate certain missions that require us to get an item, it's actually a lot faster than just doing the regular random missions that the game will give us. So here's the bulletin board, and I guess we'll see how many missions he's going to collect for this beginning part of the run, because you can only have 8 jobs equipped at a time. So he's going to collect all of them, which brings him up to 7, I believe.
Okay, I couldn't tell. I don't think any of those are near missions. Basically, when we say a near mission, there's some missions that don't require you to actually visit a floor to complete the mission. When the game says get a Peccaberry near floor 3 of a certain dungeon, you don't actually have to visit that floor to complete the mission. The mission is completed if by the time you leave the dungeon you have the item in your inventory. You don't even have to pass the floor. Like, you could escape over to floor 1 or leave the dungeon at floor 1 and have the mission be completed.
Oh yeah, also this is where I got inspiration for the Warp Scarf strats, but those aren't going to be featured in this run, so it's not too big of a deal. But I noticed that from his run, like his world record run, he Wondermailed in a mission to get a first floor Pokemon that he can quickly just rescue and then just escape out without using an escape orb, which actually does save time over trying to Wondermail in an escape orb or looking for one in the shop. I'm assuming for this run he's just going for Frustration, which is going to be the move that's going to be used the most in this run, because as long as your IQ is at the lowest stat, it will always deal 45 damage. And we can link multiple of those moves together, because in PMD you can have multiple of the same move at once. So he's going to likely be equipping 3 Frustrations to Machop and 3 Frustrations to Torchic, as that is the last I saw of the Japanese run. It's a little bit different in the English version because we use 2 Frustrations on the starter, but 3 Frustrations works just as fine.
Yeah, and you can use 3 Frustrations on the starter. At some points it is a bit unnecessary, like when you're just doing general combat, like in dungeons. But I'm sure it saves a little bit of time on boss fights.
Okay, so now we're heading into the third dungeon of the game, Mount Steel. And really the reason we're here is because a Diglett was kidnapped by a Skarmory, and we need to go rescue that Diglett. And also he's going to put in more codes here.
I love that all the Wondermill codes are like half. Oh, wait, never mind. The numbers can only be accessed on the English. Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah, there's a lot more characters, but there's a lot less spaces, because in the English version it's 2 lines. Although it's not as long as this 1 line, but still quite a bit, because it's 24 characters on the English
you got
version.
it wrong.
So
That actually tends to happen.
Hey guys, you actually didn't introduce myself when you came in because my mic was disconnected, but what is the password screen for?
Oh, it's for wondermilling in certain missions, and it's mainly just for items for the most part, and for completing areas a bit faster, because we have to go through filler days in order to get through this game. And
basically, Wondermill is a language, and like using a generator, we can kind of translate what we want into the Wondermill language, so that we can basically have anything we want.
So the passwords are just calling up items that you need?
Yes. Basically, Wondermill in the game, if you type in a certain code, it'll add a job to your job list, and if the job is completed, you get a reward for it. But we get to choose what the reward will be, and then we can make the reward anything we want.
Yeah, we definitely equipped a Frustration, because it did 45 damage.
Yeah, Frustration works differently than it does in the main series Pokemon games. Main series Pokemon games, it's based on happiness, but there's no happiness in this game, so it's based on IQ instead. And you start off at the lowest possible IQ, so it does 45 damage, which is the maximum.
Also, right there, he just did another quick save, because the 6th floor after 1 quick save is kind of bad, because you have to go through the entire floor in order to get to the stairs. So it's actually just faster to use a quick save here. Uh-oh, he actually took a death there, but luckily he had a Reviver Seed, so Reviver Seeds in this run give you essentially an extra life, so if you die, you can just get revived and keep on going.
Deaths can happen a lot later on.
Yeah, because this game, even though it's a bit more manipulated, it's still a pretty random game, because it is a Pokemon game.
And because of you knowing exactly where the stairs are and sometimes avoiding fights, you're usually end up a lot lower level than you're intended to be. So later on, you will have trouble, because the first floor of every dungeon is not randomized, because that's the floor you have to quick save on to randomize the rest of the dungeon. So there are some dungeons later on that the first floor could really knock them around a little bit.
Also, yes, this run ends technically at Rayquaza, but the timing ends after the credits, just like most of the Japanese timing.
Okay, so right now they're confused because Diglett has feet.
It's now canon.
Yeah. It appears they're trying to use an SD capture card for this game, and the top screen is usually a lot smaller, so they stretched it out, and that's why it looks like that. The DS screens on the Wii U barely take up enough space on the screen as it is, but with an SD capture card, trying to make that top screen pretty big is not pretty. But, we're not going to focus on that. Right now he's having more dreams of what he was like as a human, just reflecting on himself, talking to his imaginary friend.
And getting small flashes of some Pokemon. We'll go over that later, I guess.
Okay, a new day. So he's got a lot of missions now. Alright, so he's probably the amount of missions you need to do to progress the story are consistent. So he already did 2 missions, so He progressed the story all the way to Mount Steel, so now he needs to do 3 missions to progress the story to show a cutscene.
And then after that cutscene, you actually have to do 2 more missions in order to actually progress the story to the next dungeon. So it is going to be a little bit, but at least it's not as long as it would be on the English version, just because Japanese text is so much faster.
Okay, so all the people that run English, we actually would go right past Wigglytuff and check the board before talking to him. But Auto Kiva not doing that.
Yeah, because he got like 5 missions when he went to the board on the first day, which is actually not a bad strategy, although we use stuff a little bit different, so works either way.
So basically, Wigglytuff is required because Wigglytuff is the trigger for this cutscene right here. Wigglytuff basically makes it so Pokemon will ask to join your team now if you have their friend area, which should only happen in the first couple dungeons, because you need to buy friend areas for Pokemon to ask to join your team, which is something I wish they would have kept in the future games, because having Pokemon ask you to join your team throughout the entirety of Explorers of Sky gets annoying in a speedrun.
Okay, so story-wise here, this first cutscene is just showing Shiftry and his team trying to deny this Jumpluff a rescue because their friend is stuck in a certain dungeon that we'll come to later. But they were being stubborn about it until these 3 showed up, which is like the top team around this area. So they convinced him to go help out. But we'll see what happens with that in a little bit. Because right now we get to do some fun filler days, which is essentially just go through the dungeon, rescue Pokemon, and then leave. So that's 1 day down. We just escape Orb out because he used 3 near missions and had specific items, so he could just leave immediately.
And like we said with the near missions, you don't actually have to visit the floor that it specifies to complete the mission. You just have to have the item in your inventory when you leave the dungeon.
This is interesting. He's actually inputting some more Wondermail codes, which I'm assuming is for after the Fugitive segment of this game, which we'll come to later. But he's actually thinking pretty far ahead with this, because he doesn't have to input those codes for another maybe hour. It's not going to be for a while. So now he's about to go and do his last 2 missions required in order to progress the story. I'm gonna wait through this cutscene for a moment. But after this, he should have about 5 to 6 frustrations. We'll see how many he equips after all this. And then he will eventually link them, which will deal about 135 damage every turn for each Pokemon, which can devastate a lot of the bosses and make this run a little bit easier on us.
Okay, so that was Team Meanies. They are mean.
Resident bullies.
So this cutscene is basically just to introduce who they were. So now we just need to do 2 more missions to find out what their purpose is in this game.
And those 2 missions are done now, because Escape Orb's plus near missions are amazingly good. So now, story-wise, we have this Caterpie who lost their brother Metapod in a dungeon called Sinister Woods, which is going to be the next upcoming dungeon we're going to. But the Team Meanies overheard this conversation they were having, and they started to go and try and rescue that Metapod in order to recruit them into their team, make them try and help get world domination, or whatever their goal is, really. So we're just going to try and rescue them first. And he just spawned on the stairs, which is probably the best luck you can get, because it means you don't have to go through the first floor at all. You can just immediately go up to the next floor, and you'll have every other floor already manipulated, so you'll know where to go. So we do fight certain Pokemon even with this manipulation, just because sometimes they can do attacks that can deal a lot of damage or are just really slow. And also he's going to do another double quick save here, because everything after this floor with that like old route is really slow, but by quick saving on this floor it changes the like level seed again, and it makes it a much more favorable spawns. Because as you can see, pretty much all of the stairs are like right next to where he spawns, whereas if we had gone the other route, it would have taken quite a while to get to the stairs, because they were usually on opposite corners of the room layout.
Okay, so now he's finished the dungeon part. Now he has to fight Team Meanies. This is the most enemies you have to fight at one time, I believe, in the game.
Yeah, the only other time you'll have to fight 3 enemies at once is in the Mankey fight much later on, but they're about as strong as these guys, so it's fine. And that was the 4th dungeon of the game. So now that we've beaten them, we can rescue this Metapod, who didn't seem like they were actually in too much trouble, but still rescue them anyways. So yeah, not really too much happening during that cutscene, just getting thanked. Now it's a new day, and we get a new cutscene.
So yeah, there's not much time. There's actually no time at all between the 4th dungeon and the 5th dungeon. I'm not sure if it's because of the missions being done the way they were, or if it actually is like this in every playthrough. Never actually bothered to check. But this is a callback to the Jumpluff that was almost denied a rescue request earlier. And the guy that went off to do the rescue request never came back. So that's where we're going to go rescue.
Yeah, and actually, I've never even thought about doing that either. But I just always assumed that it was just back-to-back, but it could have something to do with how many missions we did with the 3-2 combo. Although in order to progress the story, we do need to do those 3-2 missions, so it may just be always back-to-back. But now we're heading into the 5th dungeon of the game, Silent Chasm. Wow, he's getting some really good spawns. This is a really good run so far.
This is definitely world record pace.
Yeah, really though. He's getting some insane luck.
So how much is random beyond the manipulation then, exactly?
Just the first floors of every dungeon and the missions on the board. But he's not going for the missions on the board anyway, so it's literally just the first floor of every dungeon. It's fully random.
And then you just manipulate it from that floor on.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, sometimes we have to do double quick save in order to change the manipulation, but we have full control after the 2nd floor. Or actually, after the 1st floor, really.
So when you say he's getting good spawns, like, are they slightly deviating off of manipulated RNG, or is there still randomness going on?
For the 1st floor, it's always completely random. Like, you could spawn right next to the stairs, or you could spawn 10 rooms away from the stairs. It's all completely random. So at least with this run, he's getting some really good RNG, and he's spawning next to the stairs pretty much every single 1st floor.
Yeah, so the less time spent on the 1st floor, the better, because that's the only floor that's not controllable. You want that floor to be as short as possible.
And that is the 5th dungeon done. So now we found the Jump Luff, who seems to be rescued, but the shift tree is down now for some reason. And it turns out that they disturbed the legendary Pokemon Zapdos. And now Zapdos is angry with them and just kidnapped Shiftry. So now we have to go save Shiftry.
Man, saving everyone.
Pretty much.
What a life.
Yeah, I didn't know it was just the Pokemon. I thought the trainers were involved somehow.
No, the story is that you're a human that's turned into a Pokemon.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thought you did mention that. Okay.
And you're put into some world where all Pokemon talk.
It's kind of a strange premise, but it's cool.
Yeah, the premise is completely original, but the format of the game as a whole has been around for a long time, since about 1993. The Mystery Dungeon format.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning with Shiren the Wanderer on the Super Nintendo, Japan only. But yeah, so...
Okay, yeah.
It's basically a Mystery Dungeon game with a Pokemon skin on it. But the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games have become so popular that people usually just associate it as a primarily Pokemon spin-off.
Yeah, I was kind of like trying to describe it a little bit like a roguelike, but it's like a roguelite, more like.
Exactly.
Because it only has a couple of those elements like Shiren didn't have like everything like roguelikes do, but a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
so is there like some permadeath in this game as well, or is there anything like that?
No, it's pretty calm compared to Shiren. Like where Shiren's like if you die, you can keep progressing. Like the game's based around you dying and having to restart your file a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But this game, it's aimed more towards lesser skilled children. So
yeah,
there's no kind of permadeath or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the 6th dungeon of the game, Mount Thunder, which is where we need to go and fight Zapdos to rescue Shiftry.
So yeah, this is the first dungeon where he'll have his moves linked. Basically, what that means is in this game, you can link your moves together to do them all in one turn, which is very beneficial because you get more damage per turn that way. And in this game, as opposed to other Pokemon games, you can teach the same move like 4 times.
Yeah, and it seems he taught Machop 2 frustrations and Torchic 3 frustrations, so he actually does use the route that we use now.
So after he kills Manectric here, I believe he's going to wait a little bit to make sure the Growlithe goes away. Because if you just go straight out there, the Growlithe will come and get you. Oh, never mind.
Well, even if it comes, it's not a huge deal.
It's a small time waste.
And honestly, with all the first floor luck he's been having, it's probably not a huge deal to fight a few extra things. Because it also makes him a little more bulky for later on in the story.
I wouldn't say this first floor is exactly going his way.
That is true. I was more referring to the other ones.
Yeah,
Mount Thunder doesn't seem to have been too nice to him, but that's very typical of Mount Thunder.
Ruthless.
I'm honestly amazed he had a really good Silent Chasm, because I usually have a ton of trouble with that dungeon.
These floor transitions are really trippy because in the Japanese version they're using a much larger font. It's very different to how it is in the English releases of the games.
So now this is the Zapdos fight, although with the double triple frustration route, it's a lot easier because it only is able to get 1 hit in, and because we used the quick save manipulation earlier on, the fight just goes exactly according to what we need it to, and he'll only get like a regular attack, which deals almost no damage to us, and it's just a free win right there.
It's actually very sad. For a while, we could not, like before manipulation was found, we couldn't figure out how to avoid getting our partner killed by Zapdos because he walks forward in the cutscene. But you know, one day we just kind of figured out you can just walk right and Zapdos will follow you. It's absurd how long it took us to figure that out.
Yeah, you can walk, but you can't run right, because if you do, then he uses a electric attack and takes one of your seeds. I've found that out the hard way multiple times, unfortunately. Although I think everybody kind of does it at one point, just on accident. So now we have another quick transition to the next dungeon, which is Great Canyon, because we need to go talk to the Pokemon Xatu in order to understand why the main character became a human, or became a Pokemon from a human. Also, another really good spawn for the stairs.
Yeah, Great Canyon. I believe we'll see one of my favorite strats of the older routes on floor 11 of this dungeon.
Yeah, we probably are. Because, I've discovered different strats in order to get around one particular floor in this dungeon, but we may actually see the old strat in its former glory right here.
and it looks unnecessary, but it's actually it's the fastest it can possibly be done with this strat. Save and quit is basically we have the category split up into two sections because of the gameplay differences. If save and quit only saved a small amount of time, it didn't infringe on the way the game is played that much, it would probably just be any %. We wouldn't have split the categories to begin with. But save and quit makes it a lot more execution and memorization based, while save and quit, it's all about single segment's all about adaptability and reacting to situations and utilizing all your items and all your resources to get through the dungeons as fast as possible. And save and quit saves about 45 minutes depending on who you are, 45 to 50 minutes depending on who you are and how good you are at single segment.
Huh, that's interesting. I guess so never mind about the strat we were referring to earlier, because he used a quick save in order to just bypass that floor entirely. So now Torchic's just trying to get Xatu to talk.
Did you do tickle strats?
I think he did use tickle strats.
Tickle is about 30 seconds.
Well, probably not in this version though, because
probably like 20 in this version.
Just got to do it for the meme. Because usually you just attack Xatu, but if you're feeling frisky, you can tickle him.
God, this text is so fast.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, after running the English version for a while, it's very obvious that there's a difference here. It definitely saves maybe at least 10 minutes. It's really fast. Especially because there's a lot of cutscenes in this game. Not as much as the other games in the series, but even still, for this game, it's still quite a bit.
Yeah, this is Kata though. This is a restream. The original stream has about 2,400, but the English restream is probably less watched, so that's probably why. Yeah, by the way, if anybody has any questions about what they're watching in chat, feel free to ask.
Yeah, definitely. We're open to any questions about this game. We've been playing this for quite a while, doing a bunch of routing.
I've been here for a bit too long.
What?
So I've been here for a little bit too long.
Oh.
Okay, so this is the longest cutscene in the game, and watch it be incredibly shortened by Japanese.
Yeah, in the English version, it's about 10 minutes-ish, but probably with this, it's only going to be maybe 5 or 6.
Okay, so the Wishcash basically said, he told us a story about a human that endangered a Gardevoir by pulling a tail of a Ninetales. And the human was going to be cursed, but the Gardevoir took the curse instead. And we somehow think that's us. So we're all paranoid about it. Not anymore. I don't believe the Japanese have adapted to the new route because it's still fairly new. The fastest characters now are Meowth and Charmander because Pickup alters the floors, the floor layout. So Pickup is actually loaded before the floor itself. So it basically gives every floor 2 variations. a variation where pickup does not happen, and a variation where pickup does happen. And Charmander levels up the slowest, so that's why we use him as partner.
Yeah, there are a total of 4 Pokemon that level up at the slowest pace, and one just happens to be Meowth as well. And then the other 2 are, I believe, Trico and Eevee. And I was thinking about doing runs as an Eevee at one point, but when I discovered that Meowth had pickup ability and that it changed certain floors, I eventually decided to drop that idea in favor of Meowth. Because you can't have Eevee as a partner, so the only other one could be Trico, but because Charmander just appears at the top of the partner list, I just decided to go with that. And it works pretty well. Just because he's so bulky.
No, Mystery Dungeon, Time Darkness, and Sky are very different games. This game was released in 2005. Time Darkness wasn't released until 2007. And it features a much different story, much different gameplay. The manipulation actually doesn't even work in Time Darkness and Sky because of the way the floors are loaded. Floors are loaded in between floors, whereas in this game, they're loaded all. The whole dungeon's loaded all at once. A slower level up is better because we don't need experience, really. We could do this whole game at level 1, ideally, because Frustration will always do 45 damage. But the less times you level up, the less time it takes. Because leveling up takes like 10 seconds per Pokemon. So the less times you level up throughout the whole game, the better.
Yeah, and Frustration is only affected by IQ points, which you can only gain from the gummies in this game. So you could be at level 100 and still be dealing 45 Frustration damage as long as you don't eat any gummies. So hopefully you'll be trying to avoid gummies along this run, unless he desperately needs them for certain dungeons if he's going a bit slow and he needs to eat.
Yeah, they're trying to use a SD capture card with a Wii U. And the top screen is extremely small on the screen, so they had to stretch that out to fit their layout.
Yeah, nothing really interesting will be on the top screen anyways, so I guess just try your best to ignore it, because nothing we can really do about it.
Yeah, we are very far, very, very far away from the computer controlling this. Probably about as far as we can get. Actually, Whom is really close, but comparatively.
Okay, so this really long cutscene is actually almost over now, which is amazing because I think that only took like 6 or 7 minutes. Maybe not even that.
Text speed is incredible.
Just out of curiosity, like, what's stopping you from running the Japanese version?
Having to read Japanese to know what items I'm picking up.
Okay, it's a little bit too much of a burden.
Yeah, they don't. Every item doesn't have its own sprite. Like seeds have one sprite and orbs have other sprites, but they don't. There's no specification what the item is based on its sprite. So I'd have to be able to read the names to be able to tell what I'm picking up.
Mm.
Some of the berries do though. Like Pecha berries are always pink. Orange berries are always blue.
It's crazy how much time is saved from Japanese to English. You guys are mentioning.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's a lot of time. But yeah, if every item had its own sprite, we'd probably be running Japanese. And also, we need to be able to read the jobs. That's the only other thing.
Yeah, that's true. I have been attempting to try to route this game in Japanese, just because I did buy a Japanese copy just to see if I could do a run of it. But I've been trying to translate it for a while now. We'll see if that actually goes anywhere. Hopefully it does, because apparently soon we'll be adding Japanese runs to the speedrun.com leaderboard, which I think would be pretty interesting.
Nice.
Because yeah, apparently for a long time, Pokemon runs were only allowed in English, so that's the main reason why there's not really any other languages on at least the Blue Rescue Team speedrun.com page. But it seems like that's changing, so that's cool.
Yeah, the whole Pokemon speedruns English community is Kizron, Worcester, and Devam's doing them. They're slowly integrating Japanese runs as like their own category on all the games speedrun pages. Like it's already in place on most of the main series Pokemon games. If you're curious, like what it'll be like. Yeah, Blue Rescue Team is by far the best to run. Red Rescue Team is mildly inferior. It has a worse soundtrack, but that doesn't influence the speedrun at all. It's just a personal opinion. It loads the game slower. Actually, with the manipulation, it requires a hard reset after quick saving, because for some reason, when quick saving on the Game Boy version, it still holds on to some of the data after quick saving. So you need a hard reset to make the game forget the data. And the movement, I don't know, the game lags a lot in hallways as well. So you're just going to be losing a lot of time playing on Red Rescue Team.
That's interesting. Usually I just go, like, straight to the right, but he took a little bit of a route to try to ignore one Pokemon that spawns there. Also, I guess we haven't mentioned what's going on with all of these dungeons right now, pretty much back to back. And our team is basically being hunted down as fugitives right now, because the whole town believes that we are, or at least your main character is the human from the legend from Wishcache. And if they get rid of you, then all of these mystery dungeon problems in the world will stop happening.
Kadata, we've got about 150 members in our Discord server. I could post that in the chat if mods are okay with that. But
wow,
yeah, in terms of runners, there's about 10, 15 mystery dungeon runners. Some run multiple games, but most of them are in the Blue Rescue Team community.
Yeah, although a lot of the active ones are in Sky. Like, there's a lot of Sky runs and races.
Yeah, Blue Rescue Team just has the most runs because it's the shortest of all the Mystery Engine games. As a complete noob to this game, what is the purpose? How do you play it? Was the win condition? Basically, you start in a dungeon, and the goal is always find the stairs. That is your number one goal. Find the stairs, survive. And just play the game out, read the story, and just find more stairs. Yeah, we're runners of this game. I've been running this game for about nearly 4 years now. Whom is this is actually pretty new to the community, but he's the current world record holder for Blue Rescue Team in the English version.
Yeah, I've only been running this game for 4 months, but I've been pretty much only speedrunning this game, so I've had time to really grind out the world record. Brought it down pretty low for English version.
Yeah, I run all the Mystery Dungeon games.
hopefully soon I'll be able to start running the other games, but it is quite difficult to record the video for Super and Gaze to Infinity, which are the 3rd and 4th games in the series. So the only ones I can really run right now are Blue Rescue Team and Sky, and I'm too dedicated to Blue Rescue Team to run the other one yet.
So right now in the story, your partner is like, I'm tired. There's no way anybody else made it through there, so we should be good to just chill out here for a little while. But then we remind our partner of Team ACT, the Alakazam Charizard Tyranitar team that we almost fought earlier. Yeah, Pokemon Stare Hunter. There you go. I'm sorry, Aquas, did you say that it's okay to post the Discord link?
Oh, I think you can feel free. Or actually, it might time you out if you post a link in there.
I posted our Twitch links earlier. It didn't time you out.
Well, you can try. I'm just helping with hosting, so I don't have any access on that. Seemed to work.
Very nice.
Okay, so we just went through a cave and then a volcano, and now we're going through a snowy forest. And this is all just to escape the Pokemon trying to essentially just kill us, I guess. At least do something worse than feigning.
Are you saying there will be death in a Pokemon game?
Well, wasn't gonna spoil it, but spoiler alert,
We die.
there won't be any. Oh, sure, yes, we all die.
We die at
Could
the
be
end.
death.
And our partner is very sad about it.
Oh, wait, okay. Well. Oh, I guess I just won't say anything, but all I'll say is that this game is rated E for everyone, so...
It's not a bloody death, but... we stop existing. So this part's interesting because it's the only text in the game you cannot scroll by holding B. You actually have to mash A in this part. Yeah, all other text in this game can be skipped by holding B.
So this dungeon only, well, for the beginning, it only has 9 floors, and that was unfortunate.
Oh, okay.
Didn't have any reviver seeds, I guess. Although, if you can get to the peak of this area, which is Frosty Grotto, which is right after the first 9 floors of this dungeon, he can get 2 reviver seeds from the manipulation. So he's still in fine shape. It is unfortunate that he took a death, though, but it is recoverable.
At least he had a good first floor the second time.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, dying in this game especially sucks. I remember I actually played this game at a IRL marathon recently. I went at Smash the Record, and I died in this dungeon too. But I died to the boss, not to the dungeon itself. And dying sucks, because you lose all of your items and all of your money. So if he had any items that he's planning to use for missions later, he can no longer do that. Well, you don't lose all of your items, but you lose a little over half.
Yeah, if anything, he can just find other items or just try to Wonder Mail in new missions for them. Although it hopefully shouldn't affect his time, like, too greatly. It should definitely be a problem, but not.
So, like, what went wrong there? Why did he die?
He took
he
a
did a
weird
different
route on that
movement.
floor.
You took a different route.
Yeah, because okay, he's doing the correct movement now. He went down the right path instead of the left one at that point, which I've never actually seen done. And I guess there's a reason why we don't go down that path.
So do you think he forgot which path?
Yeah, there's a lot of memorization in this game. It's really, and literally all these floors look exactly the same in terms of like their backdrop and everything. So I think it's pretty easy to remember, to think you're on one floor, but you're actually on another.
Yeah, that does sound tricky because yeah, you have all the movement planned out.
Like, it's so precise. Literally everything in the dungeon is controlled by how you move, including how enemies act.
So if you move to, I mean, can you make some like movement errors, or is it how strict is it?
It depends on the floor. Some floors it's pretty chill on how you do it, but like this floor is pretty precise.
Yeah,
the one he's on right now, because these Metangs will go wild if he doesn't do this right.
that is kind of intense. So it's like, how fast do you want to push it against the chance of like missing an input?
Yeah,
because he moved pretty fast with that auto run or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, like you have to sometimes run. You have to sometimes let go of the B button and walk a couple steps in one way and stuff. But every weird movement you see him do is all for manipulating how the enemies move and act.
Yeah, that's kind of intense.
It's weird to think that everything about the floor is controlled by how you move.
That is a lot of memorization. Sounds like, anyway.
Yeah, it's even worse in the all icons part of this run, which is, well, it's technically like after the main story takes place, and you just try to essentially go through most of the dungeons and get certain portraits on your main menu. But if you try to memorize all of those dungeons, it's a lot, because because the main story, the longest dungeon is only 25 floors, whereas after the game there are 99 floor dungeons, which is very annoying to memorize.
Yeah. You must have to do like drills on like each dungeon so that you can like cement that in, eh?
Yeah, I had to do it a lot when I was first running this game, because when I started running this game, I had no idea, and I just was kind of reading off the notes for my
You
first
didn't know what you're getting into.
Yeah, but after doing it quite a few times, you eventually get it down, at least better.
That's impressive.
All icons is basically the post game, the 100% category, basically. 100% story progress in terms of see, on the game's title screen, it keeps progress icons of what you've completed. Right now, he'll have Zapdos and Articuno on his title screen because he's beaten those bosses. There's 12 icons you can have on your title screen: Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres, Rayquaza, Celebi, Deoxys, Mew, Kyogre, Lugia, Ho-Oh, and stuff like that. So, you know, that was the one way we could just judge like a post-game story speedrun, was those icons. It's about 4.5 hours, the current world record is.
Wow. A four and a half hour game of Simon. Pretty much.
Yeah. Insane.
Jesus.
This game is so precise that's one of the reasons we also split this game up, because a lot of people like to play this game naturally, not having to do the execution part. So that's why any percent single segment still exists.
Oh, and if you don't want to die and reset a million times, what you can do is you can just Wondermill in some Reviver Seeds. So that way, if you do make any mistakes, you can at least feel a little bit safer, knowing that you have extra lives, essentially.
So, does the game give you those codes then?
No, we generate them because, like I said, Wondermill is a language, so we can input what we want, and the generator will spit out what we want in Wondermill's language.
What if he doesn't want to do that, though?
I mean, there's still a pretty fast way to beat the game using items you find on the ground. Because there's a facade TM in Lapis Cave, and that's how we used to do it before we allowed Wondermail. And that got about 212 was the best time with that in the English version. The Wondermail just speeds things up dramatically. So we haven't seen a reason to get rid of it yet. He went the wrong way on this floor. But it shouldn't cost him too much. Oh, unless his Pupitar is something to say. He pressed A.
I forgot Pupitars were in this dungeon.
Same. But yeah, I mean, this category is doable without Wondermail, but it's just so much faster with it.
I can kind of see where you're coming from there.
And you can buy Frustration TMs in the shop. They're just really expensive and pretty rare to find. I just noticed he's also got all those used TMs in his inventory.
Yeah, usually I just throw those away, but
hopefully he doesn't need that space. He's not using pickup, so he shouldn't need it, but...
Actually, to be fair, he did die, so he probably lost a few items, so I don't think he's hurting on space right now.
I don't think space is an issue anymore. Yeah, dying and having to lose all your items in an IRL marathon is stressful. I know this feeling all too well.
Yeah, I guess the worst thing I've done in sort of like a marathon kind of thing was the when I forgot to link moves.
In the relay race?
Yeah, that was bad. That wasted like 5 or 6 minutes.
I think you still ended up winning the race though.
Yeah, for my part. That was a fun event.
Yeah, these marathon settings are stressful because if you mess something up, you can't just go back and you can't reset and do another run. You gotta finish.
Yeah, like what's the worst thing that could happen in this run?
It's already happened.
Oh.
Dying is literally the worst thing that can happen to you. Especially at this point, because right now he's already got his like whole plan figured out. Like he's got items in his inventory, I'm sure, that he was like, okay, I'm gonna give these away doing the Wondermail missions and get items. But now those items are gone. So I'm not sure what he's gonna do.
Oh yeah. From the death earlier.
Yeah. But yeah, and at Smash the Record in 2017 this year, I died 4 times in Frosty Forest because for some reason my manipulation strats weren't working on the boss, so I had to make up new ones while I was there, like in the middle of the run. It was stressful. What's the Twitch of commentary? Oh, okay.
Yeah, races and marathon are so much different because something wrong can happen, then you have to use your skill to recover from that, which hopefully you're prepared for.
Yeah, there's a lot of backup strats now just in case something like that happens.
That's cool. I love backup strats.
The only thing we don't really have a backup strat for yet is Groudon, which you'll see a bit later, because we usually don't quick save because in order to get to his boss fight, there's pretty much just one floor, so there's no reason to quick save because it's just one floor and then boss fight. But he can technically take 2 seeds, and if you're very unlucky, you could technically die there, and you just kind of have to hope. And we don't really have any backup for that. You just gotta hope.
Sounds like it could get out of hand.
Yeah, luckily it doesn't seem to have really affected anything, because I haven't seen a run really die to Groudon, but it's always a possibility.
Oh, there's been plenty.
Oh, have there been?
Especially before we started using Wondermail. Like, Facade just barely doesn't do it. Ground fight takes forever with Facade, then Double Slap. which is what Skitty is really known for in single segment is double slap, because it basically does like the damage of 5 tackles. They didn't really balance it out very well.
Yeah, they made multiple hit moves really good, which also makes certain dungeons like Mount Blaze and Frosty Forest a lot harder, because the first floor enemies have attacks like Fury Attack and Fury Swipes. So those can do up to 5 hits, all doing like tons of damage.
And also, Ninkata is the scariest it's ever been in a Pokemon game.
That's true. In Lapis Cave, Ninkata does carry Fury Swipes, which I've surprisingly not had a problem with, but I've had a problem with the Zubats using Confuse Ray. Or what was it? I think it was Confuse Ray.
I've lost many runs to those Ninkatas.
Yeah, they can definitely be an issue. There's a lot of Pokemon here that can be an issue, but in my opinion, the worst is Venonat, which will appear in the upcoming dungeon, and it doesn't really have much of a chance to kill you. It's just what it can do to you is so annoying, because it can confuse you, paralyze you, and sleep you, essentially all at the same time. And if you accidentally run into one and it gets the first attack, you could be in there for minutes just on that first floor alone. Especially when you get trapped by them, which has happened to me a few times, and I've lost a few runs to that. But now we're done with the fugitive segment, because we talked to a Ninetales, which is the Pokemon that the human apparently grabbed the tail of and took a curse. But they cleared it all up, and it wasn't the main character that did it. So now we can just go back home and we're fine. And now we get to do more filler days, so it's going to be going into certain dungeons and then escape roaming out to complete missions.
So is that the gaming position you guys take that he is in, the hunched over, head straight down?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that is quite common, especially when have to put in Wondermail codes. I usually do that a lot.
That is the official webcam of anybody speedrunning a DS game.
Good.
I mean, it's a Wii. He's playing on the Wii U, so he could actually play on a TV, but
yeah,
the gamepad's just so much nicer. You don't actually have to have a TV to speedrun this game on Wii U. You need a capture card to plug the video cables in, but you can just play this whole game on the gamepad, because the gamepad and the TV show the same video.
Right.
Yeah, I've just connected my Wii to my computer, and then I just streamed the video from that.
You play off of your monitor?
The gamepad.
Yes and no, because I do play off the gamepad. Like, I use the controller from the gamepad, but I'm not gonna lie, I do actually use the my monitor in order to get a bigger image sometimes.
That's
like
nice.
Wondermail?
But not usually for Wondermail, because Wondermail I have to be really fast with, but whenever I'm like in some sort of like easy place or a cutscene, then I'll usually just be looking at the my monitor.
Give yourself a break.
Yeah.
I don't think his posture is 100% healthy.
No.
So it is like a little bit.
Might be a little too hunched. A little, I don't know. He's straight up 90 degrees there.
He's got to be focused.
I like the hat though.
Yeah, the hat makes it.
It's a very stylish hat. So yeah, we're more than halfway through now. We've got about 45 to 50 minutes left.
Yeah.
I think you can still sub 2.
Yeah, you definitely should be able to sub 2, even with the post-game, or not post-game, but the post-credits timing that they use.
I didn't even think about that.
Because yeah, I think my best split for this area, on the English version at least, is like 117-ish? So he's definitely farther ahead than English world record.
Yeah, the language barrier in this game, and all Pokemon games, rather, is just, you know, it's strong enough to keep people in their own region in terms of speedrunning. Like in games like Mario games or Zelda games, you know, language doesn't matter because the core of the gameplay is not through reading; it's through like movement and action. But this game, there's a lot of reading to do, so.
Also, we're going to kind of take a detour from the main story, because we need to do this part in order to progress it, but we're essentially going from being fugitives to building our house.
So we're building a very narcissistic house.
That is true. But yeah, this is my personal least favorite dungeon of the entire game.
When we actually, I'll wait till later.
Because I lose so much time to this dungeon that it's insane. Oh yeah, also, for this route, it's actually quite a bit faster than the single segment route for more than just the manipulated floors, because in order to progress the story, we need to have 2 chestnuts in order to give a Mankey gang so they'll build our house. But in order to get those 2 chestnuts, they only spawn on the 9th floor of this dungeon, and if you're doing it in single segment, it's likely that only 1 is going to spawn. There is a chance of 2 spawning, but it rarely ever happens.
It is literally RNG that can determine like 5 to 7 minutes of time save.
Yeah, if you don't get the second chestnut, you have to go through this entire dungeon again, just so you can get the second chestnut. Which I've, like, in single segment, even though I do technically have the world record for that, I have not gotten a double chestnut once yet. So until that happens, that record's definitely going to be beatable.
I usually get them on the second run through. It's infuriating.
Yeah, actually, I don't think I've ever gotten one in a single segment run. Not like in starting it or going through the second time.
That's surprising. I feel like they're fairly common, not the rarest thing in the world, but I've actually heard horror stories of there actually being no chestnuts on the floor sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I've never had that, luckily, but it is apparently a possibility.
So anyways, I believe Kiva got both chestnuts.
Yeah, seems like it. And saving and quitting just changes the certain floor patterns, because the game loads the entire dungeon as a whole, like, all at once. So if you save and quit out, it actually kind of scraps whatever it had planned before, and then it just resets to the first seed possible. So if you quick save on the first floor, then everything after that first floor is going to be the exact same every time you go through that dungeon and quick save. So by doing that, we can always know where the stairs are, and we can also manipulate Pokemon movement with this as well. So it just makes this run a lot faster than doing it without any RNG manipulation.
Yath is actually the optimal character, King's Links. I'm sure you already know that, actually, now that I read your username.
Family strats next. But yeah, unfortunately, this is the only game in the series in which this type of RNG manipulation is possible. So in the other games, like Sky, Gates, and Super, there's no RNG manipulation, so all of those runs are a lot longer than this one.
Yeah, this is the only Mr. Engine game with any form of RNG manipulation. I was waiting to talk about that, Kingslinks. I'm so ready to talk about that and how not okay it is.
Bicep mailbox. It just sounds badass. I don't know.
It's awkward and ugly. It makes me uncomfortable.
Bicep mailbox.
You know your life's in shambles when even your mailbox is flexing on you.
Yes, Kitty's is definitely a lot more appealing to look at. Meowth's mailbox is fine, but House is very funny.
Yeah, the houses just end up like they're supposed to be like, oh, it's my face, but they end up looking soulless and creepy.
I'm looking forward to this.
They have no eyes, and their mouth is just gaping 24/7. So it's just nothing. It's just like nothingness inside. Very unnerving. I don't think the E rating was enough for what some of these children have been subjected to.
It should have been maybe a teen rating.
Maybe a teen rating.
Just for the houses alone.
For disturbing imagery.
When the house is finished, the following images may disturb you. Parental guidance is recommended.
Yeah. Disturbing face imagery.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay, so I think he's either done 4 or 5 codes here. I'm not sure. If he does another one, then it must be the 6th. Because it's likely that he's only going to be doing 4 codes, just because we only have 2 more filler days left, and we only need 4 missions for the first filler day and 2 for the second.
I am so jealous of those Wondermill codes, like the length of them.
Yeah, they are a lot shorter.
Basically, the English version, the Wondermill codes are that length, except there's a second line. It's basically twice as long in the English version.
Yeah, learning those was very interesting. Because it's essentially like remembering a phone number, but then remembering essentially 4 phone numbers and then putting it all together and then memorizing that, like different ones. So just keep doing it multiple times until you eventually have everything.
This poor house is in endless suffering.
Oh, there we go.
Mailbox flexing on you.
It's like it's crying.
Shaking a fist at you. I shake my fist at thee.
I mean, if I were forced to be a mailbox, I wouldn't be very happy with it as well.
Yeah, the Mates have the right idea here.
You put mail in me, I'm gonna kick your ass. Oh, wow. He's attacking the mailbox.
Yeah, because they realized now that the house is finished, they aren't going to get any more chestnuts from us. So we had to stop them before they destroyed it.
So they're like, okay, well, we're just going to destroy the house, so you have to give us more chestnuts.
Yeah. Savage.
Yeah, I'm surprised the mailbox didn't step in there and help us out.
That's pretty good.
Okay, so that was the first filler day complete.
Okay, so this is the longest gap between story progression, so we have to do 4 missions here. And the earliest dungeon that allows us to do 4 missions is Mount Steel, so that's why we do 4 missions there. So now, I believe After Mount Freeze, Alakazam, Charizard, and Tyranitar went to go try to calm Groudon down because they were causing earthquakes, but the earthquakes are still happening. So, us as intellectuals assume that something has happened to them. So we all have a meeting as intellectuals to figure out what we're going to do about this. And we try to go. We're like, hey, we can do this. But Lombri's like, no. Story progression. You can't go. Why not? Story reasons. This game isn't long enough to put on shelves yet. We need to make it longer.
With those Wonder Mail codes, you're like looking at the code though when you input them, right? I mean, you're not seriously memorize the whole thing, right?
Oh God, no.
Okay.
No.
Not the entire language, if that's what you mean.
Floors, yes.
No.
I'll memorize floors, but I will not memorize codes. I think Boom actually has some of them memorized.
Suppose you can get faster at them if you kind of know them.
Yeah, Whom has a couple of them memorized.
That's crazy.
Yeah, when I was first running the game, I memorized the first 4 basic codes, and now that I've ran it a few times, I've essentially got up to, I think it's 7 memorized.
Crazy.
At least that are used right now, because I had others memorized, but I took them out because I found faster codes and I just swapped them. But memorizing each new one is annoying.
Memorizing floors is where I draw the line personally. I'll happily read off a spreadsheet for the codes. So yeah, right now Kiva is doing the last 2 missions of the entire game.
Yep, this will be the last filler day.
I wonder why he chose Voltorbs.
No, actually. Didn't think about that until just now.
I chose Onyxes in a run I did today, and I wasn't ready for how large they would be in that cutscene. Yeah.
Alright.
They're really big in that cutscene.
I usually just use Bulbasaur.
They are outstandingly huge in that cutscene. It's actually optimal to have your clients be mucks because of the frame difference. Or some of the codes never released. Nintendo didn't start regulating Wondermail codes until the 3DS games. For Blue Rescue Team, Time Darkness, and Sky, you can generate them using an online generator. But Gates to Infinity and Super Mystery Engine, the only codes that are acceptable in the game are the ones that Nintendo distributed. And in Super Mystery Engine, there were no unreleased codes, but in Gates to Infinity, some regions just got kind of shafted. Specifically the PAL region. While Japan has like 25 codes for Gates to Infinity, the PAL region only has like 6.
Oh yeah, essentially right now, we discovered that the team that just went into the next dungeon where Alakazam's team went got completely destroyed, and they're back in town, all defeated. And like all the Pokemon were starting to get scared, but then Torchic brings them back, and they're all like pepped up again to go back into the dungeon.
Update, the Machop actually looks like it's crying. The house.
Yep. Definitely.
It just makes the house, its existence is just getting worse and worse. Poor guy. The one distressed thing we'll never be able to rescue. Honestly, the Mankeys just put in a little bit too much work because the hands were completely unnecessary. No one else has hands.
Chestnuts.
I would have charged 3 chestnuts for that.
Like the hands, like maybe the hand is like the air conditioner or something.
But no other Pokemon has it though.
Because Machop's, he's a beast. Only he gets AC.
Okay, for more riskier strats, or for me, just another day at the office, you would actually skip the quick save on floor 1, because you have to quick save on floor 2 anyway, because with the current manipulation, floor 3 is awful. So we need to quick save again to get a different set of floors.
Yeah, at one point I tried to route the 3rd floor without the second quick save, and it's actually not too bad if you have a certain item called the Warp Scarf, but every floor after that is just terrible, so it's still faster to go through this route.
That was a bad idea, but it's alright. It's unfortunate that you lost that seed.
Dude, I don't think he's lifted his head once.
Yeah, I still don't know what this man's face looks like.
Just his hat.
I've talked to him through DM, so I mean, it'd be cool to put a face to a name, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
That was actually an interesting way to go, because usually we just go to the left, but we do a little bit of snake-like movement in order to manipulate the Pokemon so they don't come into our path there. Although he actually just decided to not do any manipulation, he just went down a different path, and it eventually made it to the stairs, and he didn't have to really do anything too crazy, so works.
So I think this is the first example of like the background of a dungeon changing the farther you get into it.
And that's true, and it will actually change again for this dungeon once he reaches the 18th floor, I believe.
Technically, this dungeon isn't memorizing this dungeon isn't so bad because not every floor looks exactly the same, so it's slightly better. But these floors are still beyond awful.
Yeah,
if you mess up once, it could be the end of you.
These are definitely the longest floors in the game, even with manipulation.
Like the dungeons where it's pretty lenient to mess up are the ones that are towards the beginning, because you know enemies are pretty weak and you have frustration. But at this point in the game, you're expected to be like level 20 or so, like normally. So enemies in here are a little bit more brutal. So if you mess up manipulation, it could cost you several Reviver Seeds.
Also, Hulk, is he doing? Do you do different movements for that 12th floor? Because usually you don't really encounter anything there. Because I didn't notice what he did at the beginning, but he encountered a few extra Pokemon.
I don't play this game, I'm washed up.
Fair enough.
I honestly wasn't paying attention to the 12th floor.
Oh, okay.
I definitely do different movement for the 16th floor, though.
Oh, what? It's getting gravel rock.
What is he doing?
Don't go back that way.
He should have kept going.
Please tell me he has a Petrify Orb or something, and that's what he's about to use. Okay, good.
Thank God he can read. Because I certainly can't.
He's just trying to make it interesting for us.
Keeping the audience on the edge of their seats in the background there. Everyone's super intensely focused on this.
This is the third and final background for. So that's where it is, huh? So we don't actually do that strat. That's interesting. So
for one floor.
So I was wondering where they used that mobile scarf, because maybe like 3 days ago, maybe even 2, I found out of Kiva's notes, and there was this weird, like when I was trying to translate it through Google Translate of all things, so it wasn't perfect. I found a mention of a scarf that goes through walls, so I was like, oh, okay, that's the mobile scarf. But I couldn't find where in the notes that he used it. So that's interesting. So he actually used it for this dungeon. Although maybe he'll use it in other places.
Just casually walking through walls.
Yeah.
Cool item.
It drains your belly really fast, though. Like, okay, we haven't even established hunger. Basically, every step you take and every move you use drains your belly. And you start off with 100, and I'm not sure exactly what actions drain what percentage of it. But when you get to 0, you start losing health with every step you take, and you can't run. So I would never even consider using the mobile scarf, because, you know, we barely have enough belly to make it through here as it is. Oh, he still has it on. Okay.
Oh, he's not going to be able to defeat these Onyx and Steelix.
Yeah, each of these guys takes a rock and 2 frustrations to kill, or 3 frustrations.
Yeah, usually if I have to deal with one of them, I usually just send out my partner, and they usually deal with it.
Yeah, this is by far the hardest floor in the game. Sky Tower's first floor can certainly be something, but it's got nothing on this. Yeah, he never took off the mobile scarf. Interesting.
Oh, so he did have 3 frustrations. He was just waiting to use the last one until now.
Why didn't he just walk through the wall? Oh well, it's fine. He made it.
Yep. As long as he makes it through, that's all that really matters for this dungeon. Because that first floor can be pretty bad, and you got to see how bad it can be, really. It can actually be worse than that if you lose a lot more seeds.
This man definitely has some nutty strats.
Yeah, especially the 2 triple frustration strats. That's something we don't do.
Yeah, we use different Pokemon entirely, but, you know, I don't think he's taking time to analyze our newer runs. Because, you know, this category only exists in the English version because of, you know, a runner called Hide Sugar in the Japanese community. I was searching Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Speedrun for not narcissistic purposes to see what number video like mine would show up as. And I saw this run that was like 2 hours and 26 minutes. I'm like, well, the world record's like 250. So what do they do so special in this that makes it faster? And then we just kind of found out that, you know, about the game's awful save data storage, about the exploit in their saving system. Because the quick saving is meant to be used as I gotta go somewhere, and I cannot bring my portable gaming console, so I need to stop playing.
That's interesting. So you didn't know about that until you came upon the Japanese run.
Yeah, this was March of 2015 that we discovered this.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, the manipulation's been around for a while, but yeah, we're just finding out about newer optimizations just now. Huma's just actually been contributing a lot to the game's route. The world record has improved by 12 minutes since he started running.
Yeah, because once, like after I started running, and I eventually got like my first world record in this save and quit category. I wasn't sure exactly how to improve it too much, but somebody by the name of Mozzarella Cheese in the PMD Discord randomly suggested using Meowth just because it seemed to level up slower than Machop. And then I found out about Pickup, and that started saving like 2 minutes. Then we discovered Wii U saves like 5 minutes essentially over 3DS, so I swapped to that and got a sub 2 time. And then I started working with the Warp Scarf, and now it's down to 153.
Keep in mind, only 3 minutes slower than the Japanese world record. But the Japanese world record does watch the credits, so it's probably about like 6 minutes slower.
Yeah, that's true. Although with that Japanese text, it probably doesn't make too much of a difference.
Right. Press 1 for this man's bag.
Well, it sounds like in theory, if you did play the Japanese version, you could probably bring the time down even more.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at Kiva's movement, and I think Huma's is definitely a lot more solid on his execution than Kiva is. But Kiva does run other stuff. He runs New Super Mario Bros. DS. He runs main series Pokemon games as well.
Okay.
So
yeah,
he's actually been running New Super Mario Bros. DS a lot lately. So I don't think this game is his primary focus.
Yeah, I run this game too much.
But he is definitely the best Japan has to offer.
cool.
He also holds the world record for Explorers of Darkness. There's another runner in Japan that does the 3DS games. His name is Ito Taka. He actually has held the world record for Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and other main series games recently.
I don't run this game enough. Okay, Lynx.
Okay, so we're heading into the final dungeon now. With the greatest music that I don't believe you'll be able to hear because I don't think they're playing game audio on stream. Because to play the audio on stream, you'd have to hear Kiva's commentary on top of ours and too many voices.
Yeah, but this is in fact the English restream here. But yeah, if you do want to check out the Japanese side, it's at RTA in Japan. And we're coming up on near the end of this run, and a handful of runs left.
Yep, this is the last dungeon of the game. So, the final boss of this game is essentially Rayquaza. So, we need to go and fight him, essentially just to tell him, hey, look up. And that's pretty much it. But yeah, unfortunately, the world's problems weren't caused by a human becoming a Pokemon. It was actually caused by a giant meteor that's heading down to the Pokemon world. So what we need to do is we need to destroy that meteor before it hits the world, and the only one that can do that is Rayquaza up in the clouds. So we had to teleport up here, and that's where we are now.
Whoa, that got crazy pretty quick.
Huh, usually
A
uses
meteor.
Yeah, this game takes some strange and surprising turns sometimes. One being that meteor.
It's really sad that we can't hear the music on the English stream because the music is extremely good in this dungeon. But yeah, that second floor, you may have thought he was going to die, but it's a calculated risk. We know exactly how much each of those hits from all those enemies are going to take, and it's faster to just withstand them than to do something else.
I'm actually not gonna lie, I got scared for that fifth floor because I saw what he was doing, and doing it that way always triggers that shuppet. But if you do it like a little bit different, you can actually just move the shuppet away. Although when he didn't do it, I was scared that the shuppet was going to be in the wall, but luckily it was just right in his path, so he didn't have to really do much to deal with it.
I believe he just glanced at his notes to see what directions to move, because he realizes he's taking a lot of damage from messing up the movement. So he's probably playing a lot safer. He's probably got like a tablet next to him or something that has directions listed on it. I know I did that for my IRL speedrun, marathon run. Interesting.
Oh, okay, so he does that one as well. That's good. Because that's the one that I used for my low percent run. That was the only mobile scarf strat that I had found.
Okay, so I guess when the mobile scarf is applicable when the stairs are really close physically, but in terms of hallways and rooms, it's not.
Yeah, I feel like it would actually probably be easier just to use a one-room orb or something, but that's routing for another day.
Definitely, because then you have to de-equip it. Actually, no, he never de-equips it. He's got nothing else to put on.
Oh yeah, that's true, because this isn't like a Meowth run where you sometimes need to have the held item and sometimes you don't. He actually might go through the wall here. Oh, he didn't. Because the stairs are just right below.
Yeah, but that's belly consumption he probably doesn't want.
That's true, although he is going through some diagonals.
I'm not sure if those diagonals, I wonder if those diagonals drain your belly.
Honestly, not sure, because I've not really worked with the mobile scarf too much, other than when I needed Charmander to go into the wall and just stay there. So I haven't really tested it out too much.
Because technically, you're never standing outside of the main pathway. Okay, I don't think he intended for that to happen with the Altaria. You know, there's a movement where you can make the Altaria go somewhere else.
Huh. So it actually... That's weird. Well, for that 19th floor, usually when I do that with just normal Meowth movement, that Dusclops only uses just like a regular attack. It doesn't use Astonish or anything to deal damage. But for some reason, it actually used Astonish in this route.
Might have been the direction he moved.
No, it was definitely the correct movement. It was just weird, because the same thing actually does happen when you use Warp Scarf, which is why I was kind of surprised that it happened here. Maybe it has to do with Mobile Scarf or something.
Interesting. Mobile Scarf allows you to use moves that don't normally hit through walls or around corners. So he's almost done with the first half of Sky Tower. He's got 2 more floors left. This floor can be a bit troublesome if you move certain ways, but luckily his movement was alright. Because sometimes the Tropius comes... Oh, sorry. Sometimes the Tropius comes in spam Sweet Scent. I'll never get used to push to talk.
Okay, so looks like he's heading into the summit with level 17, which is actually probably a good way to do a marathon stream like this, because having more health for this fight means that it's less likely that you're going to die to Rayquaza. So, or to anything on the first floor, which luckily it didn't give him any problems.
You know, on paper that was a bad first floor, but there could have been a lot more enemies there, so I'd say it was a good floor 1.
Yeah, I would too, because I've had a lot worse ones where I've had to get like 3 or 4 enemies at once. But yeah, this Sky Tower Summit only has 8 floors, and then on the 9th floor will be Rayquaza. And
Okay,
also
so
he's doing another...
Yeah. Another quick save here because the floor 4 is awful.
Yeah, but in the new route that I created like a week ago or so, we actually don't do this quick save anymore. And it saves maybe 30 seconds because we don't have to deal with the quick save part anymore. But the only way to do it is by using the Warp Scarf.
Interesting. I don't know why these guys showed up.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I know he didn't do the movement perfectly, but I don't think that should have mattered too much for that floor. Maybe it was because of the mobile scarf again, because it seems like some things are just being different because of it.
How does the fighting work? Basically, he's using the move Frustration to link to itself 3 times. And Frustration does 45 damage when you're at minimum IQ, which is what he is. So it basically does 135 damage every turn.
Alright, so this is the last floor. Now we're at the final boss of main story.
I saw his face there for a second. He actually has paper. This man's a legend.
He put it on paper?
That is dedication.
Well, he should be fine. He can actually just do the regular strat and he won't die.
I aspire to be this man.
Because he's already level 18. Usually when I do this fight, I'm like level 14. Wait, did it do a different movement? Doesn't it usually Scary Face? Well, either way, that is the, that's pretty much the end of the game. He doesn't have to do any more movement. It is just hold down B until after credits, and once it says end, that is when time is. Although, in English, we just do it right when credits start. So it would seem like maybe 5 minutes if it was like comparing English version to another English version, but for Japanese to English, it's probably maybe like 2 or 3 minutes slower, so it's not a huge deal.
So, in terms of gameplay, he beat world record in English by about a minute. But because of the credits timing, he's going to be behind world record by like maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Or behind the English world record, that is.
But overall, this was a really good run. Like, he had some really good luck at first. And he maintained a decent amount of it. Like, he had to do some different movements because some floors were being weird to him, but overall he was able to manage it pretty well and was able to finish with a really good time. Definitely faster than most people. So
he brought the head up for a moment. I don't know if you caught that.
Oh, did he? I missed it.
I did.
No.
You see that binder he had? He had all his strats written down on paper. That's preparation and dedication. Is there a donation link?
There is no donation charity tied to this event.
I want to donate something cute. Donate something cute in my broken Japanese.
You can always donate to him on his stream later.
True. If this man streamed. Anyways, so yeah, this is Kiva, the best Japanese PMD player ever. Man,
yeah, he does have a Twitch channel, so
he does.
It says there, yeah, Kiva is the name.
Oh yeah, go follow him.
Yeah, there you go.
Learn something new every run.
Well,
It's not
according to the
a-
layout, anyways.
Yeah,
Maybe it's not a real channel.
I wouldn't be
it's all
surprised
just a
to be.
dream. Yeah, most Japanese runners just stream on Nico.
Yeah, I think they have been linking their Nico pages if they have them, but some of them use Twitch, it seems, as well.
And here's the
Oh, yeah.
obligatory Bible thumbs.
Oh yeah, they got a link for both actually on the layout. Cool.
So we're dying right now.
Man,
This is the
what a buzzkill.
We're dying pretty hard right now.
It's a circle of life. Sorry, it was set up.
cliff.
But yeah, our partner. I don't think our partner is taking it that well.
Head down. I don't know. Maybe
Just watching your best friend die when all things are happy and stuff. The screwed up part is we knew we were dying. We chose not to tell our partner.
man, what a heartbreaker.
Yeah. And look at our face. We're like happy to leave these people.
I never even thought about that.
We're so smug about it.
Well, if he knows he's going to be a human again, then it's like, hey, I'm happy.
Fulfill my purpose in this world.
But he won't have his flex mailbox anymore. That will have to be built again.
Or his crying house.
I mean, if it were me, I'd be happy I didn't have to wake up and look at that house every morning. I get to go back to having a normal house that isn't dying inside. Okay, so right here is where English ending would be. This white flash, when it fully fades to white, that's when timing ends in American. So, not American, English. So you got 152 in English, which is faster than the current world record. That's just due to text differences.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that's essentially it. There is one thing after the credits, but nothing that he has to do anymore. It's pretty much over.
Yeah, I thought you guys did a good job on commentary. I learned a lot about the game.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I apologize for the things you'll never be able to unsee because of me.
It's okay.
Yeah, time is at the end of the credits. Time is when the game says end in Japanese.
I like how he stays looking straight down for the credits as well.
Yeah, he wouldn't really need to, but he's dedicated.
It's just how he sits.
This man's a legend.
Very special thanks, Game Freak. Not Pokemon, original designer.
I love how the credits are in English.
That's pretty normal.
Nothing else is in English. The logo's different. The text is different. Literally everything is Japanese. But no, let's just give all these people's English names. And the word "end" at the end is English, I guess.
I mean, you'll probably be hard pressed to find other credits with actual kanji and whatnot. Because the Japanese, they like to use English pretty much as possible.
So right now we're like, wait a minute, I kind of missed that house. I want to go back.
Yeah, so
The house is starting to grow on me.
See, you can't forget, dude. He's got a flag with his fist on it too. Yes. Custom made. Everything's custom made. So they're all like, yay, he's gone.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Hey, sub
Clapper.
2. GG's coming in from the Japanese chat.
Actually, will we see in-game time? Because he might. I do kind of want to see what his in-game time is.
Is it? How different is it?
Honestly, I don't know. Because I've never seen the end of a Japanese run, so I do kind of want to see. Alright. See if he shows it. What? Really? I'm only like maybe 40 seconds off of that in-game time with my world record, so I guess it was pretty close to mine at where we split.
Pretty big difference. Like 10 minutes or so.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having us, and enjoy the rest of the marathon.
Yep. See ya.
Yeah, thanks, guys. All right, well, yeah, that was